Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Yay, Happy New Year. 2025 is here. Hi, I'm your host, Millie Mills. Welcome to Bring It in the House podcast show where we spotlight musicians, entertainers, artists, and leaders. Get your meal, and we got a great meal for you tonight. Woo! Very talented young man. Woo! And we have a lot in common in some areas. We're going to get to that. But he's a saxophonist. He's a Billboard recognized recording artist, songwriter, producer, and so much more. Let's give it up for John White. Woo! John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thanks so much for being on the show. We're so excited to have you here tonight. I know it's a busy time and we're just wrapping up the holidays, but you still made time, to come and speak with us tonight. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, this is John White, guys. I mean, this man, he has been around doing his thing for quite some time. And he looks like a kid. He looks so young, everything. But guys, he's got some experience under his belt. I'm trying to tell you right now. He's got a beautiful family. Let's give some props to the family first before we get started. Beautiful family. I was managed to get that picture in. And let's get that in right quick so you can get that cam shot right there. Booyah!
Yeah, that's our good side.
Beautiful wife and a beautiful son and daughter. That is so great. Congratulations to
Thank you so
you.
much.
Uh-huh.
Weeks ago.
Yeah, I love to see families, and families are just it's everything. Families, everything. So, John, tell us a little bit about where you come from, repping your alma mater and all that good stuff, your native hometown and things like that.
Yeah, so definitely born and raised in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. As well.
Detroit.
Oh yeah, Detroit in the house. And so
Speak with us tonight. Mm-hmm.
started music at 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Great band like most people did. And then I kind of matriculated all through high school and got a music scholarship to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. That's
Yes.
your alma mater as well. So
Yes.
down in Arkansas, marched in the M4 marching band, and I was in the jazz ensemble. Played in the Wind Symphony out there as well. With Mr. Graham was down there, the band director, and just met some awesome people. And I got a lot of experience even outside of playing in the band down there. I started playing with like a local band in Pine Bluff, and I was like 19, 20 years old, and we were like actually ended up traveling around all of Arkansas, doing top 40 and stuff like that. I was the saxophone player in the band, so got a lot of experience. I'm kind of jumping up to another section, but got a lot of experience down there in Arkansas. So, but now I'm in Arizona, Phoenix,
Now
Arizona.
you're in Arizona. That's her. Well, you mentioned about the band. What was the band's name? Do you recall what that name was for that band in Arkansas?
Yeah, that band was called the Too Hot in Demand Band.
Okay.
Too Hot in Demand, So those guys could really sing though. It was like yeah, it was like we did like that's when I kind of actually learned how to do a lot of entertaining. Like we used to do a lot of Johnny Taylor and the Gap Band and all of that stuff, Stevie Wonder,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So and I learned to see how they used to work the crowd and how they would encourage me to work the crowd, and like so I was just getting started. I was like 19, 20 years old. So, but yeah, there was a good group down there.
All right. How many members was in that band back then?
It was probably like 7 or 8 people. They had a lead singer, three backgrounds, bass, keys, drums, guitar, and I was on saxophone. So it was always a pretty big situation. And,
Yeah.
like I said, that was my first time getting experience actually like being in a band that actually, we would do like these little country festivals down in like Dumas, Arkansas, and different little
Yeah.
places like that, and what's some other places we played? It's another one.
Like
Dumas,
Stuttgart.
Stuttgart, Gould, all these different places.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the other little small colleges. So like it was pretty cool, for that time frame.
Mm-hmm. That's so wonderful. So I was reading that you got your early music. Well, your start was kind of like influenced by your mom. She kind of like forced you during your elementary school years, to get into the band and all of that. Was that true?
Yeah, so I tell that story. I mean, force sounds kind of strong saying it like that, but what it was like, you get the note, they give you the note in school about band, and if you want to join, you take it home to your parents. So I remember getting that note in 5th grade and taking it home to my parents, and my mom, she's like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's something about the band or something like that, but I don't want to do it." Then she's like, "No, you're getting in the band." That's what she like was like. And I was just like, I remember having little attitudes. I didn't want to do it. I was into playing video games and playing sports and things like that. So I wasn't really too interested in learning the instrument. So, but it was good that she kind of, I would say really pushed me to go ahead and get in there, and kind of took that option off the table. Because a lot of times as kids, you think you don't want to do something, but you could be missing your calling because you want to do something fun over there.
Exactly. That's a true story, because that kind of happened to my daughter. I had put her in piano lessons and she fought me so hard on it. And I kind of like stopped fighting with her and said, okay, I'm not going to keep forcing
Right.
you to go. And to this day, she hates that I, let off and didn't push her harder. She's like, I wish I had stayed in piano now.
Yeah. I mean, piano was tough too. I mean, any instrument could be tough learning it, but
Yeah.
I took piano lessons for a minute. It's not easy. It takes
Yeah.
practice like anything else.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she said. So, out of all the instruments, you decided to go with the saxophone. Tell us why you chose the saxophone.
I like the way it was shaped. It was
Yeah.
nothing too spectacular. I remember, they had all the instruments laid out in the lunchroom. It was at night, picking out the instruments. I remember, now I know what it is. I remember seeing a trombone. I saw like trumpets, and I remember saying like, what? Yeah, like that one right there. I like shaped like an S kind of situation. I'm like, yeah, I'll play that one. The saxophone.
It's kind of shaped like a J, like your first initial, sort of.
That's what you're right. It's J.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
absolutely. So I just picked that saxophone, and yeah, it was just like a little student model horn, and they had to rent the horn for me. I think it was $300 to rent the saxophone for me.
Mm-hmm.
Owned it at first until you get more serious, then you like try to maybe own one. And so I remember getting my first real pro line saxophone in high school. I might have been like 11th grade, where I got like my dad. Now my dad was highly involved in my music career as well too, because his brothers were musicians. They played in Detroit. They played behind the Four Tops and people like that coming town, and Temptations. They were pretty good at what they did. I didn't really know that at the time, and so I kind of got really my music gift pretty much came from them, that side of the family,
Okay.
as far as instrumentation. And so yeah, he took me down to get my first real professional horn. And I remember my mom we said we are going to find a new horn, and she thought we were going to look. And then I came back home with a $6,000 horn. And she was,
Woo!
how much did you pay for that saxophone? So I still have it today. And they were like, you need to get your son. He was, I had to play out there. They were like, he's pretty good, and he's probably going to go play for a while. And, so that was a Yamaha, custom made Yamaha horn. And they can be expensive, and it got me through college. It's a great horn, you know what I mean? So always appreciative of my parents for, supporting what I do.
That's so good. Big ups to the parents. Yay. They stuck in there with you. That is so good. Like to thank you guys for tuning in. I just see the Areas Heard just chimed in. He says, love it. Loving the show. Thank you guys so much. This is Mr. John White. He's super talented saxophonist. He writes, produces, and he's recognized by Billboard as a recording artist. So that's huge right there when you start to get that kind of recognition. So that means your dues, all your hard work is paying off, John. That is so good. It's so good. And then I also read that your early music skills, of course, led you to that music scholarship to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, right?
It did, yeah. I in high school, I remember like I got into what you call an honors band in 9th grade, but you have to audition for that. I mean, it's high school. It wasn't like some prestigious music school, but it still had a really good music program. But I remember getting into the top band in 9th grade, got into the honors band, ended up getting like first chair. I think my second year there, and a lot of things went on in high school where in the state of Michigan, where I was in a lot of solo and ensemble competitions and got some awards and things like that in high school. So I got like the best jazz solo. We did like this jazz competition where different high schools in the state compete, and I got like best jazz solo in the competition as a senior in high school. And then I ended up getting a scholarship down there at UAPB. Had other schools I was going to go to, like Eastern Michigan. I was going to go there, I had my whole ID and everything, and at the last minute, I got the scholarship to go down there. So it was an HBCU, and it was pretty cool. As I went to a school that wasn't predominantly black all growing up, and so it was kind of a different thing for me. And it was like actually ended up being pretty cool. I went down there, and it was tons of people who looked like me, and it was like, I came down there, and it was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I definitely appreciate getting that HBCU experience.
Experience. I know, me too, because I started out at University of Arkansas at Little Rock, which was predominantly, you know,
Right.
yeah.
PWI.
So, yeah, at that time, I think it was only like 5 to 10%, blacks at that university. And then my sophomore year, I transferred to UAPB, and I was like you. I was like, okay, this is
Yeah.
different. This is
Yeah.
different. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, this is really cool, man. And I see that since then you've gone on, you've gained, and so much success in your career, and you've performed along some very successful artists like Dave Hollister. I love David Najee. Ooh,
Yeah.
I used to be a big Najee fan back in the day in the 80s, and you've had that privilege to work alongside with some really industry greats. So how
Yeah.
does that feel? Tell us a little bit more about that.
It's definitely a surreal feeling. I mean, like you talk about like Najee, that's I loved his music when I started getting kind of into the contemporary jazz scene. I was
Mhm.
like 15, and I discovered beforehand I was kind of more into like classic jazz, like your Charlie Parkers and Sonny Stitz and Dexter Gordon. Those are kind of like your jazz greats from like the 20s and 30s. But
Mhm.
around 15 or 16, I started discovering people like Najee, Kurt Whalum,
Mhm.
Marion Meadows, and Gerald Albright, and all these guys. So I started hearing them in my late teens. Like, man, these dudes, it's something. This is different. It's like it's contemporary, but it's like it's still really good music, and I like the way they
Mhm.
express themselves on the horn. I'm like, I want to be able to express myself on the horn like that too, because
Mhm.
jazz is kind of like very expansive, right? It's not just one way to play jazz music or to play your instrument. And so I want to
Right.
always be able to connect with people. When I don't want to just play notes and just play a bunch of notes. That's not for me. That's not what it's about. But
Mhm.
as far as Najee, I got a chance to open up for Najee in Memphis in like 2000,
Mhm.
and that was my first time meeting him. Very cool dude. Like backstage, he let me try out some different ligatures, mouthpiece ligatures that he had, and he was like, uh, he heard me warming up in the back when he was in his dressing room and I was in mine, and he came and talked to me, and I was like kind of nervous, because I'm like, man, I should listen to this dude,
Yeah.
trying to be good like him, and you know
Mhm.
now he's actually entertaining me as a musician. So then I opened up for him, and I was at the Cannon Center there in Memphis downtown, and it was about 1,500 people there. I think it was a nice crowd, and I remember, man, just getting like a nice reaction from the crowd. Like that was my probably my first time, being in that setting, playing in front of a person that's clearly like renowned and kind of getting some type of love. And so that was
Mhm.
just something I'll never forget. And yeah, Najee gave me a lot of knowledge too from that after meeting. He put me on game with a lot of stuff.
Mhm. Oh yeah, Najee. I don't know if you ever worked or opened for Kenny G.
I
Um,
never opened for Kenny G. No, he was out here recently at the Arizona Jazz Festival, but I've never met him actually either.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's pretty prominent too. So, well, you still young. You got a long ways to go. It's no telling who all you gonna work for, and no telling what kind of awards you got. Awards coming your way,
Yeah.
Grammys, and so much more. It's no telling, because after listening to some of your music, I was like, okay, ah.
What I mean, and that's really what it's about. Is obviously we have our icons and our legends we look up to, but it's like at the end of the day, it's about finding your own style, your own
That's
voice,
it.
pushing that. It's like and Gerald Albright I met Gerald Albright. He heard me do play at the Arizona Jazz Festival. He was on that festival as well, and I remember him
Hmm.
telling me that like you know what piece of advice I can give you is just like once you find your sound, stick to your sound and don't ever change it because people pay to hear that. They don't pay to
That's it.
hear you sound like somebody else or no matter what it is. If you cultivate something and people like you for what you do, keep doing it. No matter if somebody else don't like it, that some of your peers may think, oh, that's this, that, and the third. It's like what are your fans and your supporters like about your music?
That's it. That's
You know,
so true.
never
I
forget.
love how you put that and having that identity because I know Najee, especially in his heyday, you knew when certain songs came on the radio, you knew, okay, even if you've never heard it before, you listened to it for a little while, and if you're a big Najee fan, you knew that was
Yep.
his sound. He had a sound. Same thing with David Sanborn. He had a sound, and you like, that's David Sanborn. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's playing an instrument. That's not somebody singing. That's you
Right.
on wind through an instrument, and the way you articulate your notes, the way you attack notes, how many notes you play, how many you don't choose to play. That's who you are. You know what I
That's
mean?
who you are. That's your voice, so to speak.
Mhm.
Your instrument is that's your voice, throughout the song. It's the lead sound of the track. So yeah, I agree with you.
And that's the biggest compliment you can get. And I started to get that more and more now, and I'm out playing places and doing concerts, and I run into people that have been listening to me for the last 5 or 6 years, and they're like, "Man, you know what? You got it. I know it's you. Just come on. You got it. You getting the sound there." And I'm like, that sounds like Jay White. And I'm like, you don't know how good that makes me feel, because like
Yeah.
that's all you really want. You want to be able to express yourself through your instrument the best you can, and you want people to receive you. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
a compliment.
That is a huge compliment. And I know it's difficult sometimes to, each time bring something kind of different to the table. I know that might be a challenge too sometimes.
Right. Absolutely. Because there's only 12 notes, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so many different ways you can play 12 notes,
Exactly.
and chords built off those notes. So, but you just do what you can.
Yeah. Where does your inspiration come from, John?
It's weird. My inspiration now, I like peace. I like nature.
Uh-huh.
I love like just kind of like solitude when I'm by myself and my own thoughts. For me personally, I can get inspired just by sitting here. I'm in my studio right now. There's been times where I'm like, literally, it could be the middle of the day at like noon, and I'm just drinking some coffee, and I'm like, I'll have my Logic up in my studio, and I'll sit down and just like start messing with notes and messing with stuff, and just like kind of the sunlight will be coming in the blinds. Sometimes it's at night and it's the moonlight coming in the blinds, So for me, it's always like nature. When I'm outside and the way the wind feels and stuff like that, the way the trees look. So I think my inspiration, and you can say that's God too, right? Because
Yes.
he's created. It's like
Mm.
it just comes out of nowhere.
That's so true. And that's how you know it's God, because it just, just kind of hits you out of nowhere. So just like this whole interview, how it all came about, it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like, okay, cool. It's January 4th. Like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, it did. And I just love your publicist, Desiree. We've been working together now for almost 2 years.
Okay.
She is amazing.
We started working together.
Yeah, she's, I think, we met through a classmate who is, he's a songwriter. He went to UAPB as well, University of Arkansas. Rob Diggy is what he goes by.
Wow.
And you may have met him, but she's his publicist as well. And he was telling me about her. He linked us up, and then she starts kind of sending me some referrals, here and there. And
Nice.
yeah. So sometimes we take a break, and because there'll be other people trying to get through.
Right.
They have referrals as well. But then some kind of way, Desiree and I we come right back around and say, hey, what about this person here? So she's a hardworking lady.
Glad it worked out. Now, I appreciate being here.
Yes, I am so grateful that you were able to stop by. I was listening to one of your tracks here called Spirit Walk. I really like that. I was looking. Yeah, I went to your YouTube channel, subscribed and all that stuff. And so, guys, let's take a look, listen to it. I'm gonna let Jay introduce his song too. Go ahead, Jay.
So this one is entitled Spirit Walk, and that's taken from my CD entitled Free, that was released in like 2019, I believe. No, 2022.
Okay.
Free, Spirit Walk. Enjoy it.
Right. Love it, man.
Thank
That
you.
is so sweet. It's very soothing, but at the
Yeah,
same time, it's motivating. You know, it gets you going. But
it does.
it's not the kind that where you just want to jump up and dance. But it at the same time, you feel that energy. It brings good energy.
Yeah, I was on soprano sax on that song, and that song was actually written, produced by Greg Manning. He's a keyboardist, and he's pretty well known for what he does. But I was in California. I recorded that in California at his studio. We did two songs together, and I named it Spirit Walk because I felt like I pictured myself like walking in like nature, like Sedona, like the not the forest, but kind of like a trees and the sun hit me. I picture
Mhm.
myself kind of walking in serenity and it's just like taking it all in. It's like that made me feel like that when I was recording that song.
Okay, all right. Well, we definitely feel that energy, and all of that. What you said, it matches up with the melody. You know, those melodies right there. It's just
Mhm.
very pleasant, peaceful, all of that, and so much more. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. Time is going fast when you're having fun, man.
It
So,
did actually. Wow.
yes, it is. I'm like, what? I got to hurry and ask some more questions. So, as you were coming along, I mean, it seemed like you just had a smooth ride straight to the top, but we know that's not always quite the story, right?
That is not the story at all. Like, I mean, graduating college, I was still like playing professionally, just with like little bands here and there in Arkansas. And then kind of fast forward, and that was 2004. And
Hmm.
then I was playing all around Little Rock. I was doing a lot of gigs. And 2007 is when I kind of first said I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to do my own thing. I want to make a CD. And Jay White, go by my name is Jay White. This is what I do. So I made my first little CD called Melodies from My Heart. And I was trying to push it. It was, it didn't really sell much because not many people knew who I was other than locally. And then so I just kept going and kept doing my own stuff. And then 2012, I stepped it up a notch and did another project and got better production. I even feel like my playing got better. I kept practicing, my playing got even better. And I got a radio campaign. That's my first time getting on any type of radio with like 2012. It wasn't like XM radio yet or anything like major, but it was just some radio stations that picked me up. Um, and then 2013, I was like, I'm still working a day job. I was still always had a job and stuff like that. And in corporate America, I was an analyst for years and I worked in customer service back in the day. But
Yeah.
so I got laid off from a job in like 2013. I was out of work, trying to figure out my next move, still doing music. And I came across this Warren Hill Sax Summit. Warren Hill is a well-known saxophone player. It was a
Hmm.
sax summit out in California,
Hmm.
2013, and they had to where you meet all of the big wigs were there. Jazz festival promoters were there. A lot of the top artists, musicians were there, like Michael Linkton, Huge Groove. All these guys were at there to give like saxophone advice and just teaching like clinics and all that. And they had this competition in there as well called the Rising Star Competition, and we had to compete like American Idol almost for saxophone players. And then
Mm.
you get first place, you were to get you win a saxophone or something like that, a top saxophone. And then second place was like they'll put you on the Arizona Jazz Festival like, as a slot on the festival. I think first place gets San Diego. The first
Hmm.
two places you get on the major jazz festival. So I got in there. There was a bunch of people competing from all over the country. Even some people from Brazil were on the competition.
Hmm.
I ended up getting second place, which I was actually really happy about because I'm like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people. There was a lot of great saxophone players there. Like, I mean, there was a lot of people that can play. But I got second place in the competition. Opened up a lot of doors. A lot of people saw me. A lot of decision makers saw me. And I would say from that 2013 till now, that's when the floodgates opened up. I moved to
Yeah.
Arizona. I didn't want to move to California because it was way too expensive with taxes and all that. But
Yeah.
I had connections here in Arizona anyway, so I ended up moving. We ended up moving my family. We moved to Arizona. It was just at that time, my wife and my daughter. She was like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Um, so we got out here. I came out here first by myself and stayed with my cousin for like 6 months to get situated. You know,
Hmm.
so, Then from that point on, I mean, the people I met, the opportunities, the shows I was allowed that I got booked on, and it's just like a snowball effect. So that one decision to get to that SAC summit, and that's the only year they did it. They never did it any other years after that, you know. And even to be totally transparent with you, you know, things were tight at that time. My dad shot me some extra money to help me get out there because you had to pay for yourself. You had to fly yourself. You had to put yourself in the hotel there. So it was a registration fee. So it's full circle, and that's just being letting people. I tell people that story because
Mhm.
nothing is always on the mountaintop, right? You have to
Yeah.
get there, and it's like it's nothing wrong with telling people how you struggled at one point, but the
Yes.
thing is, don't keep struggling. You don't stay there. Every
Yes.
opportunity I was getting, I always maximized it. I always play hard every single time I go. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
that's what if you see me do a live show, anybody will tell you that like it's like you would think it's my last time I'm gonna be able to do it because I know what it feels like to not have enough money to do something or for people to say, nah, we don't want to, we don't want that guy on the show. We don't know what he can do. And so
Okay.
I feel like I have to prove that every single time I step out.
Exactly. It's like they're gonna know you were here. You were
Yeah.
there.
What you just said is what I say every time. You ask my wife, I like when I get done, they gonna know I was here. I'm gonna make sure they
Amen. Amen. That
know.
is so good. Yes, yes. And hey, the proof is in the pudding because what you put out there, it's like that law of inertia. What you put out, that's what you're gonna get in return.
And absolutely, I mean, and I know I could be talking a lot, but that's just the industry changes. You got streaming now. You have when I first started, you had CDs. Just so many things that changes, but and I mean, I'm not perfect. Every now and then, I might want to complain about something, but I don't typically do it because it's like, what's the point of doing that? Because first of all, it's like that's just the way of the world. Things are going to change.
Hmm.
Some people are going to tell you no. Okay, sometimes I look at now as like they don't know any better. Like if they don't know, then that means I haven't made them know yet. You don't have to take things personal all the time. And so I had to learn that as an artist, it's not really personal when people don't get back to you or you don't get the show or they don't
Hmm.
like the song. It's like it's people that are better than all of us that somebody said no to. So
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
you just gotta at the end of the day just keep going.
That's it. I love it. I love your mentality, your that maturity level. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's going to take you a long ways too. You staying humble and just keeping a level head like that. That's great. Yes.
I
I'd like to
appreciate
thank Eric Speaks. That's one of my classmates checking in. He was like, all right, thank you so much, classmate. He said he was proud of me. Also, Gloria Wheaton, my cousin in Kansas City, Missouri, is checking in.
it.
She
Nice.
said, great. Yeah, thank you guys, Arius, and everybody that checked in. I can't believe this is. We got to flash some pictures though. You
Yeah,
had shared with me and some of all the shows that you've been doing here. Let's flash some of these beautiful photos. There we go. Look
yeah.
at that's John doing his thing.
That was a Mexico Jazz Festival a couple weeks ago, December. Well, about a month ago almost in December,
All
out there in Puerto
right.
Vallarta. I got a chance to did my show. He invited me on stage to play with him, Marion Meadows. After my show, he was after me, asked me to join
Mhm.
him on stage. That was a great moment.
I'm sure it was. I'm so sure. That's beautiful.
As Julian Vaughn, bass player, Nathan Mitchell, both are doing great in the industry. And yeah, I played with Julian Vaughn as well. So,
Great.
and that's
There,
one of the
there
Christmas
he is. I love those colors. That's beautiful.
Norman
Hey,
Brown.
Norman Brown. Look
Yeah,
at
so
that. And then, of course, the family portrait again. Merry Christmas, beautiful family. Congratulations, John, on all your success. Man, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Any shout outs before we wrap things up?
well, the people that are listening for sure, continue to follow me on social media. It's
Mm-hmm.
at Team J White on my Instagram. It's
Mm-hmm.
at Team J White. And then, of course, the Spotify. The Spotify numbers are going high. They're like 116,000 monthly listeners. So if you stream music on Spotify, make sure you
Mm-hmm.
add me on there. It's under J White. I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate all of that. And just go to my website. It's www.jwhitelive.com. It'll take you to all my stuff.
Jay White, let me put that live.com. I just
jwhitelive.com. Yeah.
Okay, let me put that on the screen for they can copy that down. So guys, when you go to his website, all those other links he talked about, I'm sure you can get
Yep.
a hold of that information there. So
Everything.
don't miss out on Jay White. And you know what? Before we go, we're gonna let his music take us out. He just released a Christmas EP right around the time of Thanksgiving in 2024, and
Yep.
so he's got like 8 songs on there, and I just had to download one. He did a rendition of the late great Donny Hathaway's "This Christmas." He did a great job with it. Here is none other than Jay White. And this, what's the title of this CD, of this EP, John?
A Jay White Christmas.
Jay White Christmas. I love that's clever marketing right there. I love it.